An umbrella basically is an extra layer of lawsuit protection. So
I'm here with David Hurd. And David, you were with?
Sublime Choice Insurance.
Okay.
Yes.
And you cover, is it the whole state of Texas?
We can write anywhere in the state of Texas.
Okay.
We also are licensed in Florida, Oklahoma, and Washington State.
Okay, cool.
Because we have offices of our mortgage division in those different places as well. So I'm licensed to write in all 4 of those states.
Okay. And you are an insurance broker.
I am.
And tell me what that means.
A broker is a little bit different. You know, I'll just go back a little bit. When I first got into insurance, I bought a farmer's agency. And Farmers, very good company, don't ever have anything bad to say about them. But they have one home product, one auto product, one umbrella product. It's all done within in-house, but you're subjective to the rate increases, the change in mentality. Like in 2015, Farmers got rid of the ability to write homeowners policies for 18 months. So you have this business, and one of the products that you have, you can't write because they've had too many claims in the 2 prior years. So surviving that, I looked at the model and said, there's got to be a different way. So I started another group called Echelon Advisors in Austin, and I was working with those guys. I had an office in Austin and Dallas. We did very well. Those guys sold. I took what I was able to get out of Echelon Advisors, and I approached my current partner, Sean Smith, who is with Sublime Financial and Sublime Investments. He had another part of the real estate picture handled, but he always wanted to have insurance in-house.
Right.
So we've combined and we've done a very good job with it. Now back to what a broker is different than a captive agent.
Right.
A broker, I'm appointed with about 25 different homeowners companies and about 10 different auto companies, and then I have commercial insurance and health insurance and life insurance, all that kind of stuff.
You do everything.
I do it all.
Okay.
But in a situation like we're seeing now, there's a lot of big companies that have either suspended writing business in the state of Texas or pulled out completely. So that limits the options. For me, having all those different options, there is a need for companies that can write houses $750,000 up to several million. There's also a need in that niche from $250,000 to $750,000 in there, the mid homes. And then the investment properties and the starter homes and mobile homes, we have products for that. So of those different companies, they fit specific needs.
Right.
So if you have a coastal property and you're concerned about not being able to find insurance for it, I have 3 companies that I can write coastal on, and I can do excess wind if I need to.
Okay.
There are parts of the state that have fire bans in the Bastrop area in the hill country where they have completely cut off writing new business because the fire risk is high.
Wow.
What do you do in that instance? I have 4 companies that'll write in that part of the state. And then right now, the biggest bugaboo is the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Because of the amount of hail claims and the huge freeze claims that we had in 2021, companies like Nationwide, Liberty Mutual, Safeco, Travelers have either left the state completely in writing new business or have had a moratorium, and we don't know when the moratorium is going to end.
Okay.
So you've got to be able to have home insurance.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of the problem with that is when you're going to buy a new home, if you're going to buy in the hill country, you may not be able to use the insurance company that you currently have because of the ban. If you're going to buy on the coast, there's limited options. And if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is a huge metropolitan area that's growing, and we're building homes like crazy, not only do you have to have insurance, but because the mortgage rates are so high, there's specific margins that have to be met. You have to have a certain debt to income ratio.
Right.
And what plays into that is usually the final piece is
How
the
much
insurance.
Is the insurance. That's the call
Right.
I get all
Right.
the time. I can't find insurance that's going to work with my
Right.
loan. And of course, I send them to you.
Yes, we're able to find options. We've actually done a pretty good job with that. But sometimes it's not the most palatable option. Sometimes it's just to help the client get that loan done. And then once they qualify for that loan and they're comfortable with it, we can look at, on renewal that very next year, other options.
Right.
Because we're seeing companies trickle back in.
Okay.
So maybe next year I've got Travelers again, or I have Liberty Mutual, or Nationwide has finally decided that they love Texas again and they want to come back. But for right now, we're able to find home insurance that we can tailor to the financial limitations. Because the last thing you want to have happen, I don't know if it's happened to you, but you've got everything done, all your information's in, and the home insurance comes in and you're thinking it's going to be around $2,000 and it's $4,000, and all of a sudden now you're over that cap.
Right.
So what do? You can change the deductibles, which nobody wants to deal with, and have a 2% or, God forbid, a 5% deductible to make the numbers work. Or you can go to a broker who will send it out to all these different companies and say, this is the number I need to be at.
Right.
Compete for my business.
Right.
And we're pretty lucky in being able to do that.
I didn't realize that you do that you basically say, this is the criteria, now make it happen, and they try and get your business.
We can, and we've got one company, and I don't want to promote some company just because I'm getting paid by them or something like that. We have a company that came to Texas about 3 years ago called Conifer, which is Syracuse Insurance Company. And Conifer gives us, because we write so much business with them, direct underwriters. So I can actually go in and say, all right, this is what we need.
Right.
Here's the rebuild cost on it. This client, we need to be at this number to be able to make it work. And they'll come back with options for me and show me how it can be done. And we close a lot of deals. And when we close deals, the mortgage company's happy, and the realtor's happy, and the homeowner's happy. And we deliver on the promise that we said that we're going to do whatever we can to get you into the house. And for us, it's beneficial because there's a long-term, hopefully a long-term relationship that we're putting in place. And as a broker, next year, if that Conifer policy goes up by $500, I can look in the other pool of companies I have and try and find something better. And in Texas, I think you probably know this as well, people buy homes about every 4 to 5 years. So if I keep contact with that particular client by renewing their homeowner's insurance and adding auto and life and whatever else, when they talk to me upon a review and go, you know what, we've added 2 kids, we're looking for a larger house, I'm calling you because you were the realtor who brought me the deal in the first place. So we have that information trail that will allow us to lead back to the mortgage company that did the deal and to the realtor who brought us the business in the first place. It doesn't happen a lot, but anytime I can return a favor, I'm more than happy to do that. But helping clients, get into houses and helping referral partners get paid is what we really are interested in.
Well, that's what it's all about, right?
It is. It takes a team.
It does. That's one of the reasons I do these videos, not only to help promote your business, help promote my business, but with us working together, my clients and other people that see our interviews, they can see you talking, they can see your personality, listen to what you have to say, and
it's hard to shut me up. Actually, that's the hard part.
I'm the same way. But that's what it's about. It's all about collaboration and working together.
As long as I've been doing this business, before I came to insurance, I got my master's in cardiovascular medical perfusion and education. So I have a master's degree where it was a clinical based. I actually learned to run the heart and lung machine during bypass surgeries. I worked on research projects with surgeons for liver, kidney, and pancreas transplants, got some journal articles published and all that. All that was great. But anybody out there that knows what life is like in an operating room. It's very quiet, it's very isolated, especially what I was doing. I was in a corner with lines leading up to the table, didn't speak to anybody for 3 or 4 hours, which you can imagine does not fit my personality. But it taught me a lot of discipline. It taught me how to create a checklist and follow up and be determined and care about the client, because I'm going to care about the outcomes. All that translates to what I do. So that education that I had and that experience that I had in clinical medicine allows me to be able to do the exact same thing here. So when I talk to a client, I'm looking at establishing a long-term relationship. It's not transactional for me. Our group does not buy leads. We have not bought leads from a company since I started this agency. It is all referral based. And it all comes down to the relationships I have with the realtors, the mortgage lenders and the mortgage processors, and the referrals that I get from former clients who have been with me over the years who send me people. And that model is perfect because we can take the time, we can grow it right. I can pick and choose the type of client that I want. We don't write the guy who drives down the street who wants just ID card for liability insurance, the state minimums. We don't do that because it's a headache. And we don't do a lot of business with people that are flipping a ton of homes, but have no interest in actually having quality in place. They want the bare minimum homeowners policy just to make sure that they're covered. But if a wind claim comes along or a hail claim comes along or something happens during construction where there's a fire hazard, they don't have enough coverage on the policy to satisfy what they need, so they will take a bath on it. So we don't want those people that want the bare minimum. We want to get as much coverage for as reasonable a cost as possible. I'm never going to be the cheapest, but I'll figure out a way to make your deal happen.
I mean, I can tell you that I always feel good when I send someone to you, because you'll learn to understand what it is they need, why they're looking for insurance. Maybe they're buying a house and they found out that insurance that they have had isn't going to work. That happens a lot. I told you that already. Or whatever it is, and you help them with that problem, and then you can go ahead and let's look at what is it called when you put them all together? Bundling.
Yeah. And we put them all together and save them some money.
Does that save money? Most of the time it does, right?
Most of the time it does, but sometimes I'm going for more quality on the homeowner's policy, and maybe the pairing auto product is not up to snuff with the homeowner's product. So I may look at one of my better auto insurance policies or companies to pair with it. There's still discounts available for us as a broker putting them together. We don't necessarily have to have like company to like company. But if I can save them $1,000 on the house and $400 on the auto, I'm saving them $1,400 overall. Do you really care if the home is with Hartford and the auto is with Progressive? No. So that's kind of the mentality. We look at the total picture for the client and figure out how to get the biggest bang for the buck and save the money.
Well, I think I met you at a some kind of a class, right? That was for real estate.
I do remember that.
And
I was over by my office actually.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And I was just really impressed with what you had to say about how you work with clients. Because the systems that were as far as referring for insurance or helping people find insurance before were more chaotic and hectic. And so I was really happy that
I've always looked at what I do, and maybe it's from the medical background that I have. I look at myself more as an advisor and an educator. And I tell Ted, you're not an insurance agent. Ted is my newest agent. I tell Ted all the time, you're not an agent, you're an advisor, and here's the reason why. Every company out there wants to be so creative. It's all the same stuff that's in a homeowner's policy. But Nationwide wants to call something one thing, and Safeco wants to call it another. And for that reason, the consumer is confused, because how do you compare apples to apples if the terms aren't the same?
Right.
So having somebody run down actually off the deck page and what all the coverages are and say, this is what you have and this is what it means with Conifer. And here's the reason why you need it. And here's the reason why you don't have enough coverage here.
Right.
And if we added this coverage over here, it changes the premium by like $15 to go from 3 times liability coverage. And going actual cash value on your property versus replacement cost on your property may add $15 to the policy for the year, but if your lightning strikes your house and your TV gets shorted out, you know, bought that Sony TV in 2012.
Right.
You want me to give you money for a 2012 television? No, it's not worth anything. Do you want me to give you the money for what you're going to replace it with and put on the wall to make yourself whole? Yes. And just those extra little things and explaining to people. Some companies don't have foundation coverage. That's a big no-no for me here, because you can drive 2 miles and the soils change. Some areas you're on bedrock, some areas you're on sand, you're on clay. So you get a lot of shifting of foundations. Not having foundation coverage doesn't really add a whole lot to the policy, but if you have it, add it. And then sewer and water line backup, water backup, it's important, especially on older properties. You know, you have mature trees in your yard where the root systems infiltrate the sewer lines and the water lines, and eventually if they breach it and there's such an obstruction, that backs up into your house. Nobody wants to deal with that backing up into their house. And the time to find out that you have no way to reconcile that except pulling out your checkbook should not be the day it happens.
Right.
So we go over a lot of things that people don't even think about. And those extra little coverages that add another layer of protection are really not expensive.
Wow.
But people just want to, it's more about selling the policy and moving on to the next one. We reach out to every client.
They want the lowest price, so don't add anything to it.
Yes.
You know?
I think the worst thing that the insurance industry ever did was allowing people to go online and create their own home and auto policy. Do you really know what you're doing? Do you really know if you have enough coverage? I will see people, perfect example, my father-in-law. My father-in-law is a gastroenterologist, and he came to me to look at his insurance policy. He had a State Farm auto, and he'd been with them a long time. Well, he had a growing practice and really nice home in Las Colinas, and I looked at his auto policy and he was carrying $50,000, $100,000. I'm like, what happens if you rear end somebody and you destroy a Cadillac Escalade, or you hit a Porsche or something like that? Your bodily injury coverage is only up to $50,000. That's the ride to the emergency room, in the ambulance, any emergency room visit. You gotta have higher limits. And I said, for you need an umbrella, the extra $1 million, so that they don't come after you in a suit. And when I showed him the difference in cost between what it would be for $5,100 to $250,000, $500, and it wasn't a significant amount of money. And I said, just for this little amount of money, you're protecting yourself against a bad day.
Okay, so that's a great illustration, but it also reminded me of something. Okay, when I try and tell people I pay for umbrella insurance, I don't know how to describe it very well. So could you describe it?
Yeah.
Okay.
An umbrella basically is an extra layer of lawsuit protection. So, especially if you own a business or you have huge income and you've got, a lot of financial assets, you got a lot of assets. On a typical homeowner's policy, liability coverage, which is your lawsuit protection, is either $300,000, $500,000, or $1 million, depending on the size of your house. You really want that limit to be equal to or greater than the value of the house, the property we're looking at. On your auto policy, Your liability coverage is your bodily injury and liability. So if you were to run into somebody and ambulance shows up, they get taken to the emergency room, maybe they've got to have a surgery or something like that. There's medical coverage on there, which covers the initial transportation and everything to the hospital and all that. But then when the lawsuit comes in from all the medical bills, do you want to have $30,000 with liability coverage? No, you want to have $250,000 or $500,000 if there's multiple people involved. If you exhaust that, you have $1 million or $2 million or $5 million in the umbrella, which once you exceed the limits on the auto policy or the homeowner's policy, the umbrella kicks in.
Okay.
So that's how it works. I got 2 stories on that for you real quick.
Okay.
First one was, I had a client that had a daughter was 9 and a son that was like 6. They bought this property in Midlothian. They were there for about a year and they decided to put a pool in. And I said to them, you're putting a pool in, we're increasing your limits, I'm increasing your liability on your house, and you're getting an umbrella. And he goes, why? And I said, you never know what could happen. I mean, it's a huge investment with the pool. Your house is worth, $400,000 or something like that. You got nice cars. If anything were to happen, I want the umbrella to protect you. So after the pool was built, his daughter was in gymnastics. And the whole gymnastics team shows up to the house. Well, the parents drop the kids off at this pool party and they go off and do their thing. Well, one little girl decided she was going to do like these back handsprings down the side of the pool. 9 years old, unsupervised. They were there, but you're wrangling cats at this point.
I understand.
She gets a little off track and comes down and smacks her shin on the side of the pool. Breaks it, has to have surgery. Parents turn around and sue her. I sue them.
Right.
Everything involved with the rehab and the plates that had to go in there and multiple, $354,000. He would have exceeded his liability limit by $54,000, but the umbrella covered the rest of it. On an auto policy, I had a receptionist that answered the phone, and she was getting new tires put on her car, and she was on 183 in Hershey's Bedford area.
Okay.
And I guess something happened, and one of the tires came off the car on the freeway, and it's bouncing down the freeway and causing all kinds of damage. We had talked to her about it multiple times. She was carrying state liability. She will be paying on the damage from the lawsuit for the rest of her working life.
Wow.
And all she would have had to have done was at least increase that liability to 100, 300. She probably would have ended up having to pay a little bit. If she'd have gotten to the 250, 500, most likely you would have covered everything. And she would have been, and we're talking $30 a month difference between where she was and where she could be.
Right.
And now she's paying this lawsuit for the rest of her working life.
Some people, $30 a month is a lot, right?
It is.
But, you have to look at it. The other question I have is with, you fly into another town, you rent a car.
Yep.
Does that umbrella help you?
Yes, it does. Your umbrella, like your possessions from your house, travel with you. So you'd be fine there. You want to present your own insurance when you go there. Something else is very interesting. I don't know if it still happens, so I would have to double check on this, but it used to be if you rented with your American Express card, there actually was extra liability coverage extended to you by using your American Express. I would have to double check and see if that's still a thing, but you don't necessarily have to buy the insurance. You just have to have limits that are acceptable. So if you're carrying, the highest levels that qualify you for an umbrella, if anything were to happen, you're going to claim on your insurance.
Right.
Here's something else I tell people to do. When you go rent your car, you got to sign that sheet. Take your phone out and take pictures of all 4 sides, including the roof and the windshield and the rear one. Every time.
I do that because,
and take it when you come back to drop it off. And it's stamped, dated,
right?
When it happens, and they come back to you and go, oh, no, I got pictures. And I've actually gotten a couple of clients out of some situations where it obviously was somebody else and they were looking for somebody to pay for the damage, and they had proof that it wasn't them.
Yeah.
So, but yes, use your own insurance. Take your ID card with you. Have your ID card with you in the car, or if you have your ID card on your phone, have it with you. And if you can take a picture of your umbrella policy and keep the umbrella policy deck page with the policy number on there as well, keep that in the file on your phone as well. Yeah.
Okay, well that was a good, because I always wondered, you know, because it's such a struggle. It used to be, they almost forced you. In some states, in fact, there was lawsuits I know that where they were forcing you to use their insurance and pay for their insurance, and it always upset me so much. And but now that things have changed, but still, I always wondered, you know, does that umbrella help?
Now the question is, if you go overseas, some policies allow, there are policies where you can do a Mexico endorsement or even offer a Mexico endorsement on the policy. You just need to, before you go somewhere, like if you're going to Mexico or to Canada, reach out to your agent before you go. And if that's something that can be added to the policy, if it's not part of it, go ahead and get the endorsement on there just to be on the safe side. You can have the endorsement taken off when you get back, so you can just use it for that period of time.
Kind of like
while you're
paying for extra cell phone, you know, type service when you're on a cruise or something.
Yep.
Okay.